Yo, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to another episode of Thinker versus Speaker, where I'm Marissa the Thinker. Sit down with different guests and we talk about all things, anything, everything, life, love, relationships, spirituality, literally whatever you want to talk about. So if you're into that kind of thing, strap up, tune in, and get ready to listen to this next episode. Now, because we talk about any and everything, we don't know about what we're going to talk about before we talk about it. So if you can I talk today? If you're easily triggered, you know what I'm saying? Do what you need to do. Take it as a general trigger warning. If we say something that you don't necessarily like, love, or agree with, you know what I'm saying? You can leave a comment and drop it in a dialogue and we can talk about it. Or, what you need to do, and hopefully you come back next week when we're talking about something else. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead, hop straight into it. Today's guest is no stranger to the podcast whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? We got the infamous, fearless Okolo back for another episode today. How are you?
Another beautiful day on this side of heaven in the land of the living.
Okay.
How are you?
Okay, trademark that. I'm good.
At this point.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, trademark it. But no, I'm good. I'm good. It's the first weekend after the birthday, so I'm bouncing back from all of the things, getting into the swing of it, recording again, and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. What's been up with you since the last time we saw you?
Since the last time, let's see, I have moved on into my promotion, so into my new role as the program manager. And that's been fun. It is growing me. I've had a lot of growing pains as of recent with these newer changes, if you will. I'm learning, what's the word? I'm learning how to deal with adversity in a different way. I'm learning how to deal with conflict outside of a romantic relationship, outside of like my parents, outside of friendship. And so I'm learning it in the line of business, and that, woo Jesus, is having to work with me because it's a challenge for me. I'm not a big confrontation person. And so that's been a new. That has truly been a new. It is something that, like I said, I'm not a big fan of. So the Lord is sure enough working with me on that one. No doubt about it. Because I've had moments where I've called my boss and I'm just like, listen, I need you to talk me off this hill because I'm up here right now and I'm ready to jump. Like, can we talk through this? Because I don't know what to do. I'm feeling like I need to run away. Like, help me, please. And she reminds me regularly, like, Key, this is not personal. Remember that. It's not personal. And I would have never given you a promotion if I didn't think that you could handle it. Okay. I'm climbing off the hill now.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, so that has truly been something. I mean, I have to talk to my mom through a lot of this stuff because she's been in supervisor manager roles before, and so she's done it all. I've had to talk to my husband about it because he's been in different positions like this. And I mean, I've been in these positions, but it's different. Before it was working with students, and it's a lot easier for me to correct my students.
Mm.
But working with or being a supervisor of a peer, man, that's a challenge. It's a challenge. So that's been the new. That's been the newness. But nonetheless, it's all been well. It's all been well. Can't complain. Let me think. Is there anything else that has happened? The last time I was on was in early June or May. No, that's about it.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay. Yeah. Like it's always kind of crazy. especially at work and things like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you get that change in position, the things that you
Yeah.
see, it's almost like nothing can really prepare you for it till you actually put your feet in the shoes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Literally. And then,
literally.
like, like if say you're watching that type of thing on TV, um, and you're like, oh, I would have did this, I would have did this. Ain't no way this person would have talked to me like this. Blah, 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 blah. But then, like, when you're actually in the position and it's like you're caught off guard, and you're like, well, damn, what happened to the where'd the fights that I had go? What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
That's it's a learning lesson for sure. It's been a learning curve,
yeah.
but I mean, it's one that I'm taking with grace,
Mhm.
um, and just kind of learning it as I go, and trying not to put too much pressure on myself. Like, okay, it's okay. We're growing. We've said that we want to grow. And this is a part of the growth. I mean, you can't ask God for all these different things, and then when He gives you, now you're trying to run away. Like, what are you doing? So that's where I'm at right now. I asked, and now it's at my doorstep, and so how that could have been bad.
You good?
So now it's like we're taking it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's again, I think we said this before on one of our episodes though, but it's just remembering that when you're in a certain position, you're not there for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like if I'm here, like I must be here for a reason. I must have everything that I need to be equipped for what it is that I'm experiencing right now.
Right.
So hopping off of the hill, because it's easy to go up the hill, but like when you come down from the
Mm-hmm.
hill, it's just like, all right, let me come down because I know if I'm here, we're good. I'm there's some way to navigate through. Like I don't have to run away
Right.
from. And I think that
Right.
was one of the most like an important lesson of my life in those ghetto 20s of mine. Like um like not running, just not running from the challenge, you know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
the challenge that we're facing now. And like I guess that's a perfect segue into the topic of today's episode, right? Because I remember telling my dad this the other day because now I'm prepping this expo that we keep talking about, the Emerging Business Leaders Expo that's happening on November
Yeah.
St. Louis, Missouri from 11 to 4. That one.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. So that expo that's happening, I'm preparing myself and it's my first event like this in this capacity.
Yeah.
And I'm telling myself like, initially I can say, okay, this is an event and you have to do the event and then it's done. But, at the same time, though, it's me wrapping my mind around like, no, this is the beginning. This is your first of many. This is
Mm-hmm.
your
It don't
many.
stop here.
Exactly. Like this is a thing that you do. So, what I'm saying this is the first step. You get to do it in your comfort zone with people that you know. Though it's outside of your comfort zone to do something like this, you're still in your comfort zone because you know a lot of the people that are actually putting this on. So you get to
Right.
do it in a comfortable yet uncomfortable space. It's still safe. But, after that, there are going to be ones that aren't so safe. So
Yeah.
take this, make the best of it, learn from it because it's
Mm-hmm.
just beginning. And
Yeah.
like the whole concept of that, like for me, it's the networking part where it's just like I'm excited to be
Yeah.
networking and meeting all these people, but at the same time, I am terrified because of the unknown.
Oh yeah. And I think that makes sense. But like you were saying, you're equipped for any position. Like you've got to be equipped for the position, or like God wouldn't let you go there. And if you're not, I mean, He's sending you there so that you can be equipped for what is to come. You know. Um. But yeah, I'm really excited for you. By the way,
Thank you.
that's going to be really fun. Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm,
But no, what were you saying?
no, I just said I'm excited. Go ahead.
That's good. That is really good. Well, I guess we're segueing right on into it.
Yeah, we are. You know what I'm saying? Because when you think of something like networking, at least for me, so when I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
my approach to networking, who comes to my mind? obviously it's the fearless key. You know, the
Hey
networking,
now.
the networking liaison of thinker versus speaker. So
Oh me. Oh
yeah,
me.
so that's what I want to talk about because it's a theme that's been coming up a lot just in my own journey, and I know it's something that people can get a little apprehensive about, people being me in this
Mm-hmm.
case. So you know what I'm saying, I want to talk a little bit more about it. So like, what would you consider your relationship with networking? Like, you know, when you hear the word networking, what comes to your mind?
I get giddy. I get all excited. I get super giddy like a little kid.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh shoot, I get to go out and talk to people. I get to go and tell people about whatever it is going on. Okay, yeah, it's up. Um, Truly that's how I get. It's like, oh, they want me there. Okay. Um, so it's like it's just exciting to say the least. But then it's like, okay, let me figure out what I'm actually gonna go do. Like, okay, let's be for real now, because like we got there's a reason. Let's take it as serious as possible, or whatever the case might be. But yeah, I get really excited, and then it's time to think, okay, what is my plan? How am I gonna approach this? I have to remember, like, there's going to be people that might not be as comfortable as you are at these events. How are you going to talk to them? Like, I mean, it's just a quick thought, more or less, for me. Like, okay, what's the move? And then it's showtime. It's go out there and find somebody that you love, not like romantically, but like find somebody that you vibe with, and see what happens from there. And then also, while you're there, make somebody else, love you and want to vibe with you too. Like,
Yeah,
that's my layman terms of way of saying it.
yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy because it actually reminds me of a party that I went to. Um, it was for a friend that
Okay.
I don't hang out with on a regular basis. Actually, a coworker, one of those
Yeah,
coworker things that happens.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah, he threw like this house party or whatever, and I remember it's just like, bro, you literally don't know anybody here but him, like anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I'm just kind of like standing and I'm just people watching because that's my thing. In a crowd, I'm a people
Yeah.
watcher. And I'm just standing and I'm people watching. And then I see, like, I look across the room and I see this other lady and she's people watching too. And I was just
Them your
like,
people. That's my person. That's the person I'm gonna go say hi to.
yeah, yeah. Because we're on the same type of vibe. And by the end of the night, I realized we had a lot in common and I actually got her number. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool. Like, bet. Like, you know what I'm saying? And actually, she's a person that does, this was in the beginning when I was starting the podcast. And she actually helps
Yeah.
people who are entrepreneurs or coming into entrepreneurship. She's a coach. And it's just like, oh,
Pretty
that,
cool.
that was something that I
You need
needed.
those type of people. Uh-huh.
Exactly. But you know, it wouldn't have happened if I wasn't willing to one put myself in that position, you know, to go to a place where I know I'm not gonna know anybody or, whatever. And then two, to go up to that person who, you know what I'm saying, hey, like what's up? Like, and make that small talk. Cause personally I hate small talk.
Yeah, I can see that. Please tell me your life. Let's get right into it. But instead, it's like, oh, maybe you don't want to go right into it. Okay, let me
Yeah.
respect that. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because I, personally, me, I really do hate small talk. Like, I don't want to sit and talk about the weather unless we're talking about the weather in a very like unless we go all the way left with this conversation, unless we're about to get real deep about this weather conversation. Like, I don't want to talk about those kind of things. Like, I want to talk about deeper things. So, like, for me,
Right.
I've always struggled because it's just like I don't know what to say to people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even in those situations. So like, what do you say to people who are just like, I don't know, like, I want to network, but like, how do I even do it?
I'm glad that you asked that. Like I was telling you before we had actually got started, I'm working on this presentation and hoping that it becomes a passive source of income. But that's neither here nor there. But it's literally like a guide to networking, like how do you start this? Um, and so my thing would be find somebody that you look like that what you kind of judging a book by its cover. Sorry, I could not get that out of my mouth. You're kind of judging a book by its cover, and you're taking a guess on, okay, this person kind of looks like they're cool. Like this looks like somebody that I could talk to. Let me go up and look at them and see what I like about them. But you got to do this quick. So like, if they got some shoes that you like, oh, I really like your shoes. Where'd you get them from? That's it. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? And now you're saying, oh, so what brings you to this event? Or what brings you to this party? Or who do you know here? Have you ever been to this before? I mean, it's literally just, it's almost like, have you ever done speed dating before? Or like, the concept of speed dating, like when you sit down with these people across from each other and you're spitballing questions back and forth, trying to get to know them real quick. Like, I mean, I've never speed dated before, but it's kind of that concept. You know what I'm saying? Like you're asking real quick questions. I mean, of course, you want to hear what the person is saying. But that's my way of starting like different conversation and like getting that insight more or less. It's just like, all right, there's a chance that I might embarrass myself and there's a chance that I might come out with a good friend. Which am I going to be brave enough to go for it? Yeah, I'm going to be brave enough to go for it and see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in my mind, it's literally just trying to make things as casual as possible. Like, I mean, even if it's a formal event, like I had to go to an event. Lord, please let me get these words out of my mouth. I had to go to an event, and it was called the Balance of States. And so it's a really important meeting, basically, for different nonprofits and so on and so forth. And I'm like, yo, I have never been to one of these. This is not a part of my job description. I have no idea what I'm doing. However, the person that normally would do this is not available. So they need me to step in. And so I put it in my mind that, okay, this is just a networking event. Like you're getting ready to go in here and you're not going to know a single soul in there. I did end up knowing a few souls in there. And then those souls ended up introducing me to some other souls. You know what I'm saying? But just going in with an open mind and not the mindset of, dang, I got to be here. I got to do this. Like, I really want to go home. Like, that's easy. You know what I'm saying? But like, in my mind, if something that my coach used to tell me, my boxing trainer, he would tell me all the time, Key, you're doing it. And if it were easy, everybody would be doing it in relation to boxing. And so I keep that same mentality and same mindset when it comes to going out and having conversations with people. It's like either they're gonna love me or they're not. And if they don't, I didn't. It's not like I gained anything. I didn't lose anything. You know what I'm saying? And then if you gain a connection, you gain something. You know what I'm saying? It's like a game. I don't know. It's hard, like it's kind of hard for me to explain because it's something that I do so mindlessly and
Yeah.
it's a natural thing. Like I mean, when I hit you up, like I mean, so yes, somebody connected me to you, but like in my head, it's like, well, she could either say no or she could say, yeah, let's chop it up and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like
Same.
it's like either I'm not gonna lose anything, but I might gain something. So that's
Exactly.
kind of the mentality that I have when I go forward with networking in particular.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that. I'm learning that as well. It's almost like one of those things because again, same. Like even when we connected, it was literally the same for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? And me again coming from like a place where I'm shy, it's just like, well, you gotta try, you gotta find out.
Yep,
And a big part of being able to do that, at least for me, is being able to find comfort in myself. Like now that I
exactly.
exactly now that I've gotten older, and more comfortable with myself and more confident in myself, it's just like I'm self-secure.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot like me or you can love me, and it really won't make a difference. Because either way, I still
Yeah.
got to be when I walk away from this. So whether you
Yeah.
tell me yes or whether you tell me no, I'm still me when I walk away from this, and it doesn't add or take away from my value. You know?
That's fact. And you hit it right on the nail when you said it's about confidence. Like when you're confident in who you are, even if you're not going into a networking event like to sell yourself, that's not the right word. Even if you're not going in to promote yourself, like say you're going in to promote a business, right? You got to be confident in that business. You have to know it front and back to some degree to feel like you can go and talk to somebody about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like that's really what networking is. Like you really have to be confident in whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing. Even if you got to make it up on the fly, like somebody should know that you just made all this information up, you know? Like you could be really faking it, but like fake it good. I'm not advising that, but like that's really what it goes back to. You know, you confidence. You said it. You said it right on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something that I did when I was in my 20s. And like again, it goes back to knowing yourself too. Because like when you know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know what your thing is when you go out.
Yeah.
Like you can learn what your thing is that makes you appealing or likable. You know what I'm saying? So you can kind of like do it. So like for me, that is one of my strengths when I go out. I can make shit up on the fly real easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I can make it sound
Yeah.
convincing. You know what I'm saying? And it's just
That's
like
a gift.
yeah.
That is a gift.
Yo, I remember back in my retail days, I got a award from the CEO just making shit up. I really did. I had people that were older than me jealous and everything like that because I just said something that just came to my brain when he asked me a question. And it was
That's a
like,
gift.
look,
Do you
and
do good at interviews?
yeah,
I can see that.
yeah.
That's
I mean, yeah.
amazing.
But I mean, we're here now, right? So like, and that's what kind of like showed me, you know what I'm saying, as I got to know myself and understanding like my gifts and my skills and stuff like that. So when it
Yeah.
comes to things like, okay, for the expo, where it's just like, oh, you're shy. The old you is shy. But like you know all of these things about yourself. Like when you were working in retail, you could sell a credit card not because people were excited to buy credit cards, because had a good way of making it sound like it was going to be a good investment. Like, you know,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't necessarily for that person, you made it sound real good in that moment, you know? So it's just like
Yeah.
understanding who you are and like what your things are. And like, granted, use those gifts with integrity, because if you don't,
You go get humbled real quick.
exactly. But you know what I'm saying? It's being able to know yourself and understand like what your gifts are. Like, you know, if you look at somebody and it's just like, maybe we don't need to, you know, if I'm here to promote my business, maybe that's just not how I start off the interaction. Maybe I, like you said, maybe I start the day by complimenting you, or you know what I'm saying something that I feel like would be of common interest or that anyone can connect to. Let's make a connection first before I
Yes.
try to sell you whatever it is that I'm trying to sell you, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that people forget, like, or don't know, like, when you're going into networking or an event where you're going to end up networking, you got to be genuine, because if you're not, somebody's going to see right through that.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're making something up on the spot, like you still have got to be genuine, because people, I mean, we're people, we can see straight through, for the most part. We can see straight through when somebody is like actually vibing with us and when they're not, or when
Mhm.
somebody is actually interested in what we're talking about and when they're not. Something that I've learned with doing this research about networking is you should maybe not talk about yourself like a whole lot, because it makes you seem kind of self-centered.
Mhm.
But like, give space for somebody else to tell you about themselves, and that just, it goes back to that connection piece that you were saying. You know, like somebody is gonna want to talk. Somebody's gonna want to tell you about themselves, but you should also be they should also be interested in learning about you as well.
Yeah.
It's like a give take.
Yeah. Yeah. It like, you know what I'm saying? It's not forcing an interaction, it's allowing an interaction to happen. You know what
For
I'm
sure.
saying? If somebody is giving you something, like, you know what I'm saying, go back and forth. So like if you're trying to build a connection with someone, leave the door open for them to feel able to connect
Welcome.
with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Because if you close that door, the networking is not going to happen. They're not going to remember you. They're not going to follow up with you. Like, and there went that potential partnership that you could have had.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
There it went.
Yep.
And then also another thing that I've learned, because I mean I network for my job all the time, um, is if you love what you do, show that. It's okay. It's okay for them to see you be vulnerable and showing that you actually love the job that you have. Um, that I feel like that's what has kept me a lot when it's come to networking. People are able to see the passion that I have for what I do, and it buys them in. They're like, oh, I want to know more. Oh, I want to work with you. Oh, you're different. Oh, you're not like the other, you know, whatever. You're different. Something about you sets you apart. And I mean, granted, that's God, but like, because I mean, He instills all the passions that I have, but it's just like going in with that genuine heart and that pureness of wanting to know somebody else genuinely and wanting to know or wanting to connect genuinely, like that's the key, truly the key. Pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is very true. It's very true. It's almost like the episode that comes before this one. I'm
Mm.
talking to a girl named Rachel, and we're talking about purpose and like finding purpose.
Wait, you said you're talking about purpose?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, finding purpose and just like how when you find something that you love, all of these things come to you. They all come
That's
to
a
you.
fact.
Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because it's coming to you because what you're doing is coming from a genuine space. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, it's loving what it is that you do, so you get to show up for it differently. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I just told you before this started, my boss has asked me what happened to make you start performing this way, with this way being better. And it's because I had to change my outlook and embrace the parts of my job that I love doing versus looking at all of the ones that I don't like doing, you know,
Right.
and finding a new outlook and perspective on my job, and even doing this show, it's a love for it. So because I love what I do, other people see that, and it creates a new type of relationship, a new type of investment in the people that I deal with. You know what I'm saying? When
Yep.
I wasn't as confident in what it's going to do, it doesn't perform the same. But when I'm
Yeah.
confident and when I'm just doing it because I love it, it's a different experience, and it allows these things to come to you. So if you got a network and you're not comfortable with networking, you become comfortable with networking
Yep.
because the love of what you do outweighs fear.
That's a fact. That is indeed a fact. The love. Wait, you said that the love of what you do outweighs the fear. I like
Yeah,
that. I like
thank
that a lot.
thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm gonna have to borrow that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I mean, because that's real. I mean, I don't know about you, but like when you talk to people and they're like, "Wow, you're just really passionate about this," it's like, yeah, because I love what I do.
Yeah,
Like the love of what I do is gonna outweigh any type of fear, any type of anguish, any type of negativity that tries to come up. That's a good one. That's a good one.
yeah.
I need to go add that to something. I don't know what I'm added to yet, but go get it tattooed somewhere.
Later. Y'all, if y'all can't tell, I'm sorry to bust you out. Keara been cooking the whole time.
Really sorry, guys.
I,
Really sorry. I
I,
promise it's gonna turn out good too. It's a
it,
lot of chicken.
It was the
Kind of
aluminum foil.
ridiculous.
It was just like, bro, we can't hide this aluminum foil. There's no way.
It was too loud. Like I feel like I was doing okay until I had to go and heat the foil to put in the bottom of my air fryer. It was too loud. Sorry, guys. This just goes to show how genuine this show is, and that Marissa is really like that. So if you haven't got on here, you need to get on here because it's really like that.
Yeah, it's
Shameless
a fun
plug.
Okay, what other podcast lets you cook while they do it?
You know, yeah, gotta really work on my timeliness.
Nah, this is what I mean. I like these things don't bother me. You know, they don't bother me. I'm having fun, so I don't care. But
See, and that goes back to what you were just saying. Like you really gotta have fun with what you're doing.
yeah,
Like you gotta love what you're doing. Like if you don't have fun and you can't find like the highs and the ebbs and the flows, like what are you really doing? You know?
exactly.
But yeah, guys, this is gonna be a gourmet meal. We'll find out in about 4 hours how it turns out.
Okay, but back to the
What
point.
other questions do you have?
Back to the point. Okay, clearly I have fun with Keara, guys. But see, that's the importance of networking, right? Because you wouldn't have this if we did network. If I was too afraid to respond to that message, we would not be here right now. So
This is a fact, and that'd have been a friendship loss. So it's all worth it. Like that'd have been genuineness lost just by the wayside.
yeah, yeah. Which leads me to my next question, right? Because when it comes to networking, is it something that is like strict, like, oh, I'm about to go network, or does networking happen anywhere and everywhere? Like, how does networking look, or does it have to look the same for everybody? Does it look different?
I don't think it has to look the same for everybody. And I think that there are both formal and informal ways of networking. I mean, something as simple as, and you might not even coin it as networking, but when you think about it, all networking is talking to somebody. Like that's it, you know, and trying to share some type of common interest or common goal potentially. Um, but I mean, you can do it every day. I mean, you go up and you talk to somebody, you say, "Hey, how you doing?" That's the start of networking. If the conversation continues, you know, they may say, "You know, I'm doing great. I'm headed to work. Oh, where do you work at? Oh, you work at J.C. Penney's? Yeah, I'm the assistant director of such and such. Oh, for real? How'd you get into that? You know, it's that simple. Um, or it could be, you know, you have like an actual networking event, and you all are there for you and some other people are all there for the same purpose or for a common goal or whatever the case might be. Um, and you're trying to share your business or whatever. I just feel like it's all the same concept. It's just having a conversation with somebody and creating a genuine connection. I mean, you know, there are times when you don't have the time to actually create like a super genuine connection, but like if you know that you have like a game plan and you know that you're going in with the idea and understanding that you want to gain something, do that. You know, like if you're going in and you're saying, I want to partner with one of these people in this event, do that, you know?
Mm.
Or I want to walk away with, you remember like in movies, like, what movie was that in particular? Have you seen The Wood?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I,
Yeah.
I
Okay,
have
so
I
there's a
have
part,
to piece it together because you know what I'm saying. I was too young. My parents didn't let me watch it, so I've seen.
bits and pieces.
Yeah,
Got it. So there's a part in the movie where they're talking about they're at this dance or whatever, and everybody's trying to get phone numbers, and they got their little black flip book or whatever, and they writing down all the phone numbers to be able to say, "Oh, I got this many numbers. How many numbers? How many girls' numbers did you get or whatever?" It's the same type of concept as that. Like you're going in. Okay, I know that I want to gain some business cards. I know I want to be able to follow up with these people to say, "Hey, it was great meeting you. How can we partner?" You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like I feel like if you have that mindset of I'm going in to get all these people's numbers so that I can connect with them and maybe go on a date with them, you know, I'm thinking along the lines of the movie, like if you go in with that mindset, you're gonna come out with something. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like you have to go in with the agenda, like an actual agenda, and with hopes that you do that you complete it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Cause
never actually have used that comparison between the wood and networking, but it does make sense.
it does. It does. Cause it's all about, what you think when you go into a situation, right? So if you are going into a situation, like say you are going to a networking event or a party or whatever, and you go with this mindset of like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I don't want to talk to these people. I'm nervous. I'm this. That's all you're thinking about. So
Right. And now you can't network
yeah,
because you're so focused on how you don't want to be there.
exactly. Like you're not thinking about that kind of thing. But like when you go and you like open minded and it's just like, all right, well, I'm here, so I'm gonna make the best of it. Like, let me try to see
Right.
if I can get some numbers, let me see if I can get some context, some whatever that it is that you're trying to get out of the situation. You go in with a different mindset. So it's just like, all right, well, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm gonna put myself out there to find out.
Yep. It's about like we were saying before we started, or maybe we said it when we, I don't know. Either you're gonna gain something or nothing's gonna change.
Yeah.
Like the worst they can do is say, I don't want to talk to you. Like, and that would be awkward, but like
Yeah.
you didn't lose anything. And you might have hurt your feelings a little bit, hurt your pride, ego a little bit, but like
Yeah.
you didn't really lose nothing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So why is networking even important? And when I ask this question, I already have something in my mind because what I keep hearing in my head is your network is your network. That phrase that
Yeah.
people say all of the time. And like, is that true? And if it is true, why is it so important?
Well, I have a salary paying job. And so that does not change regardless of how the networking event turns out. So I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know that one. Um, but I do feel like the more people you know, or the more people that you've connected with, or the more people that you've done collaborations with, the more that you have the chance to receive some type of exposure, right? So, we know each other. I could know somebody and I don't, but I could know somebody that's like really up there when it comes to podcasting, and I could potentially put you in contact with them. You know what I'm saying? Or they could potentially put you in contact with somebody. So I feel like the more people you know, that does help. As far as the financial piece goes, I don't know. I don't know. I have to think on that one a little bit. It just gave me something to think about for real. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I do hear that all the time. Your network is your network. Yeah, yeah. I
I
don't
got
know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm glad you asked. So like when it comes to that, what I'm finding in it is that it's not when they say net worth, yes, it could be in a financial sense, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people it is in the financial sense, but I think it depends on how you're defining worth. So, worth could be, you know, for instance, with this that I'm doing right now, right? So my whole life, like a lot of the people that I've talked to, people who I've had on the show, for instance, right? So it starts with like my
Yeah.
dad or like my friend Kay or, Donald and Trey that I went to high school with, right? And
Yeah.
these are things like I'm not saying that like, like for instance, like Trey, like I wasn't super close with Trey. It was funny because the first time that we talked, now I know Trey because we went
Yeah.
to together, had classes together and everything like that. But like we wasn't chopping it up, sitting at the same lunch tables or whatever, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you're cool, but you know what I'm saying? There's no very like intimate relationship there, right?
Yeah.
So you come down the line, let's say 10 years later, however long it's been, And it's just like, oh, you're doing that. Oh, I'm doing this. Let's collaborate. Let's work together. And it's just like, okay, so boom, that's a connection that benefits your life somehow, some way.
Right.
It adds value to me. And then it also adds value to him because the show gives exposure and vice versa. Right.
Right.
So you just compound on that. So you know what I'm saying? So Donald is another example. And now we've networked and now we're here. You know what I'm saying? And there's no telling who you know. Actually, the person who I did the last episode with, Rachel, y'all in the same
Yeah.
sorority. Like y'all in the same sorority.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Huh.
you know what I'm saying? So it's just the little things like that where it's just like the little pieces come together. And then it's just
Yeah.
like, hey, I need somebody to create a logo. Trey knows somebody that has that. So that's a contact that I have. So that adds value
Okay.
to something that I need. That's something that I don't have to go outwardly searching for. Like you said,
Yeah.
knowing somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody else, and it continues to grow and it continues to build because you're not afraid to
Yeah.
make those connections and then therefore grow them. I
Yeah.
was thinking about this when I was talking to my younger cousin, um, and it also made this very like full circle for me, and it changed the meaning of what we do here. Because when I talk to different people on the show every week, you know what I'm saying? There's a reason why I highlight different people from different backgrounds. So, like, say if I talk to musicians and entrepreneurs or this or that, whatever I talk to, is to show that we in the Black community do more than one thing. We're not a monolith.
Oh,
We come in so many different ways and shapes and forms. So as I was talking to my little cousin and she was saying some stuff, and I was just like, wow, you're really smart for your age. Like you
how old is she?
I think she just turned 13.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
That's what's
And
up.
yeah, like you know what I'm saying? She's putting me on to shows about you know what I'm saying, things that happen in the Holocaust and stuff like that. And it's just like, hold on, wait, no, like
Yeah.
we hold on, wait,
How do you even know about that?
exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we were even talking
Yeah.
about politics, and I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. So then I think about how I now talk to all of these different people that do all of these different things. You're at an age where you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. And I have
Right.
the opportunity to show you, like, all right, like, come with me. Let me introduce you to some of these different people that do these different
Right.
things. You know what I'm saying? Let me show you how to network and build your circle so you can figure out, that, because this is something that I had to figure out on my own, and
Yeah.
I have to learn and meet these people on my own. So now I get to show you how to network and talk to different people and get you aligned with the things that you're interested in that are going to help you in your life. So it's not really worth in the sense of money per se. It can,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It can
Right.
if you go down a certain road, but really it's just adding value to like your knowledge, being able to put you in contact with the right people that have the resources to help you in whatever road you decide to go down.
And that makes sense. I like that you talked about like the value piece and took the monetary piece out, because I don't know how many other people's minds go straight to that. So it's nice to see it, from a different angle, and nice to think about it from a different angle. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Hmm. Now I need to ask my husband, like, what are his thoughts on it? He's not here right now, but like I want to ask him, like, yo, what are your thoughts on this? Like, because I look up to my husband, and I like really like admire the things that he knows and the different conversations that he has with different people. Um, Speaking of, that'll probably be somebody that I connect you with, because he's one of those, like, he does and doesn't like, he does and does not like to talk, but he has a lot of value in what he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. You got me thinking.
And I mean that's the beauty of networking, because some things, see, what I'm learning is that when you don't put yourself out there, it takes away from your opportunities to learn things that you otherwise wouldn't know. Because again, that
Yeah.
value can come from the knowledge that somebody has that you don't, you know, like
That's fact.
that's the beauty of these conversations. Like again, like what I was saying, like the way that I styled this podcast, I don't want it to be an interview because it's styled after the conversations I would have with my father. Because
Yeah.
my dad would always tell me, you know, even when I'm long gone, you'll always have these conversations because you'll always
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
told you. And it taught me the value of a conversation. So that's why Thinkiverse Speaker is an interview. It's a conversation because when you talk to somebody, you don't know what's going to come up
Yeah.
that might actually be way more valuable than you intended. And that's why I like
Mm.
it that way. And that's also something
Yeah.
you get from networking because it's just like you get to talk to all of these different people. And whether, you know, like, yes, of course, like you might be somebody with $1 million contract. Cool, that adds financial value. But you also
Yeah.
somebody who gives me $1 million worth of knowledge that I can apply
Yeah.
and make me 20 million versus the 1 million that one person could give me, or just make me happier or more peaceful as a person, and that's worth more than money sometimes.
Yeah. Value comes in so many different aspects, whether it be financial, it could be spiritual, it could be mental, it could be physical, emotional. Like, you really just gave me something else to think about, because I, like, truly, I never, like, I've heard that, network, use your network, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I've heard that like my entire life, but I've never taken it out of the monetary context.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
The more you know.
yeah, yeah. I like it. I've always, like, you know what I'm saying, I've always seen life as like money is material. It's so material. And it's just
So,
like we say value. It's crazy how our minds go to money, but
yeah,
I don't see it as value. Like money is valuable, but it's not that valuable. It's the same way,
yeah.
you
It's
know,
really not. It's
yeah,
paper. Like, when
exactly.
you really think about it, it's quite literally, that's what it is.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The same way how you can get into a car accident and lose your car, the car is gone. You know what I'm saying? Now what you
But
need
your
is
life is still, yeah.
you can lose $1, you know what I mean?
Man, oh man.
But you're still here. You're still
Man. You
so
preaching to somebody.
look,
Me.
because it's almost like we value money over peace. We value money
Yeah.
over so much. Like, you know, we value it over peace. We value it over happiness. We value it over a lot of things.
Yeah. Tends to be the top value anything in a lot of people's lives. I mean, because you needed to live, whatever, whatever. But, like, dog, you just really made me think about it in a, like, truly in a different light.
Well, thank
Huh.
you.
I thank you. Like, for real, because, like, you can think about these things, sure, but, like, when it really hits, and it really hits, and you really get to being like, oh shoot, you know, like, it I don't know, it just, you just made it make so much sense on a different level.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. My dad, I've said this already, but I'm gonna say it again because he woke me up. He woke me up at 5 a.m. the day before my birthday just to have a conversation.
Ain't no
And
way. Dad, please go back to sleep.
nah, man, he had his coffee in his hand. It wasn't nah. But um he was saying what he was saying to me basically is like, you know, when you do something that you love, everything that you need comes to you. When you
Yeah.
do things that you love, everything comes to you. And I think that's the difference in some people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
some people, that's why some people can be poor and happy, and some people can be rich and miserable. You know,
You're
but
preaching. You
you can
preaching.
you can also be rich and happy. And rich doesn't
Yeah.
mean money. It's a part of it, but
Yeah.
it have to necessarily, like I said, be money. It could be a lot of things. You know, you can do what you love and the money kind of like comes. So like
Right.
if I'm whatever, like say if I write something, and I put it out, you know what I'm saying? If I put it out just because I love it and I believe in it, that's one thing.
Oh, right.
You know, right. But if I write something and I put it out there, you know, it could do nothing or it could be a bestseller, but you wouldn't know
Yeah.
unless you put it out there. And if you put it out there,
That's fact.
it's because you love it and not out of expectation that it's going to do something, then you know what I'm saying? What's the real success there? Because some people can't even do that.
Say more. Say more to that. I'm trying to follow you. Like I'm not confused or anything, but I'm like really following what you're saying right now.
Yeah. Like, you know, some people can't even do that. And you know,
Yeah.
who's to say that that's not more valuable?
Yeah. Huh.
Why wouldn't it be more valuable?
Word.
You know,
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be more valuable? Like you really you did something that a lot of people can't do. And it's almost like rich rich is only in is on it can only be defined by you. Rich, but the
That's a
same
fact.
way success can only be defined by you, like the true meaning of success.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with value, like what you give value to. The only reason why money is so powerful is because we give it so much power.
So much value. Yeah.
Exactly. We give it so much control. You know what I'm saying? You'll do a job that you hate to pay a bill, but you
Right.
won't do something that you love because you fear that you won't have money.
No, and it's really funny you say that because I have been doing this. I'm sorry, a lot of noise. I have been doing this. Sitting in on these. What are they called? Like this financial literacy mumbo jumbo. And that was something that they said. Like you, something to the effect of you gotta love it to some degree. You know, because if you don't, like the return on investment is gonna be so weak. Like I don't know. I might not have even just made sense. It made sense in my head though. Huh.
Yeah.
It's all clicking right now.
Yeah, I feel like I got you thinking right now.
You do. You really do. Like I feel like you could probably see it all over my face right now. Cause like it you know how like you can have people say something to you over and over again
Mm.
and like it can be the same thing from different people, but when it finally clicks, it's like, damn, this is what all the people were saying the whole time. I'm
Yeah.
having one of those moments right now. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this makes sense. So
Yeah.
now what do you do? So that's my question. Now what? You've defined your own. You define what value means. You've defined what success means to you. How do you? So I guess I'm turning the question around to you. How do you take that into like any networking space?
Ah,
Like what are your thoughts on that? Or does that make sense?
I mean, kind of. See, because I see it as a culmination of all of those things, right? So
Yeah.
I self-acceptance is what got me to a place where I realized I get to define the value of all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying? I get to define what success is for me. So I'm the only one that gets to define anything for me. It doesn't matter what any people think about anything.
Right.
I could have $2 in my pocket, and as long as I ate today, I'ma still have my car tomorrow to go to work You know what I'm saying? Like as long as all of my needs are met and I'm provided for, I'm cool. And that's success to me. You know what I'm saying? Because in my story, you know what I'm saying? There'll be times where it's just like, you might not even have that. So the fact that I have that today, that's success. So then, for instance, with a party, so if I'm going to a party and if at one point in time I couldn't even do those things because I was too afraid of the unknown to be able to put myself out there in a place where I can even do that, because I was the type of person who would tell you no and go sit at home, or I would tell you I'm busy, go sit at home. So the fact that I'm out here and doing that, that's success. So I can walk into this situation, though it may be new and different, with confidence, because either way, it's already a success before I walk into it. So I'm walking into it with the mindset that this is already a success. You know what I'm saying? The expo, to me, it hasn't happened yet, but it's already a success because I paid my money to be there. And I know I'm going
I'm
to
on somebody.
So, you know, regardless of what happens, I've done something for myself that at one point in time I could never do. So whether it gets me one follower or two or anything, or, you know what I'm saying, whether it gets me like a contract with somebody big, like, of course you hope for these things, you want these things, but I'm going to get those things regardless. Whether I work hard as heck today, or if, you know, somebody just ups and gives it to me tomorrow because of the networking that I'm doing. Either way, I'm going to get it. I thought this to myself earlier. It's just like, look, I'm the type of stubborn where I'm going to get what I'm going to get regardless, whether you help me or not. So now I'm to a point where it's just like, all right, I'm not so stubborn that I can't ask for help. I'm not so stubborn that I can't get out there. But I'm also that level of stubborn where if you tell me no, I'm still gonna get it, because I'm used to getting it on my own anyway. So I walk in stuff just kind of free and clear, because it's already handled. It's already taken care of. I guess that's that concept of like when people say it's already mine. Because it is.
Wow. And it's like you're saying it in the most humble way, you know? Like it's not like this isn't arrogance by any means. It's like, no, I've worked and I'm still working. And unless somebody just put it in my lap tomorrow, I'm gonna keep working until I attain it. Like that, man. Wow.
Because I love what I do and I can keep doing it every day because I love it.
Yeah. That's wow. I feel like stuck right now, you know, because like this is like in my mind, this is rich conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like this is really, really rich conversation. And not everybody is willing to be super upfront and be super like raw, uncut about these type of things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of at a loss for words right now. Cause like you've really given me something to think about and like in a different light. Like because of course like in my head, I don't think about all these things collectively. I think about them individually. So I think about value. I think about it individually. I don't think about it in the same context. Like I don't think about it with success. Like I see success as something completely different. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't couple these different ideas together, but now it's like, no, let's think holistically. Let's zoom out and see how it all is in a blending pot, you know, and how it all just can culminate together. Yeah, you got me right now. I'm very rarely lost for words, but I'm kind of lost right now. And not in a bad way, but like in the way of this was something I needed to hear today. Like you invited me to come and talk about whatever. And now I know we were talking about networking, but you just dropped a gem on me to think about. Like, I don't know. Like I said, the more you know.
That's God.
you know, and you said it, spot on, spot on. That is God. Like he's made it clear in one way or another to you, to me, to whomever, that if you ask, you shall receive. And we'll, if you have that real relationship, we'll be able to talk through it, and I can tell you yes or no. And then, like, if I told you yes, understand that my yes was a yes, and it may not come when you want it, but it'll be there right on time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're making it make so much sense in my mind right now. Like, it's like I'm having like an epiphany right now because that's how much sense it's making.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's where the thinker part comes from.
Yeah, I can see that. Because I mean, you truly are making me think about something in a different light. It's not like it's just this okey doke. Okay, all right, see you later. It was great talking. Like, no, like I'm finding a lot of value in this conversation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think see, for me, that's the beauty of networking. And it's even a God thing, because everything is bigger picture when I think of it.
Yeah.
So, and when I say everything is God, like I said before, like everything is God, like everything is God, like even these conversations, right? So when everybody is in their purpose, doing what it is that they're supposed to do, everything is going to work like one big movie. And it's
Mm.
crazy to watch how that movie unfolds, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you have these interactions with people, when you're networking and you have these different uh interactions with people, that's the value. The value is the interaction. It's not what you
Mm.
physically get from
Mm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's value in the knowledge. Knowledge is more powerful probably than anything you could ever touch,
Right.
and being able to understand it.
Value in the interaction. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's like
I
one
gotta
of
add that to my presentation. I'll make
yeah,
sure I quote you.
yeah. But I
But
mean,
no, for real.
yeah, yeah.
My nonverbals are terrible. Like, I know that they scream very loud.
Oh, it's cool though. It's cool though, because like stuff like that, like when I reflect on life and I think about who I am as a person today, like I think
Yeah.
about the people that I've dealt with, right, in the past. And like for instance, like I'll think about some of the lessons that I got from old managers when I was a manager. Like when I was going up my little ladder, being a manager, and those
Yeah.
conversations that I would have with my leaders, like they were my managers, but in reality they were mentors. And I never
Yeah.
thought of that at the time, because they would
Yeah.
drop those gems on me that still stick with me, because they are relevant to who I am and what I am now, and what it is that I've done and what I'm doing now. So
Mm.
I had a manager that taught me something where it's just like, you're never done, because there's always something that you can improve.
Come on,
So
somebody.
never settle. Like, you know what I'm saying? If something is clean, cool, but don't stop working, because there's always something that can be improved.
Yeah.
That was cool advice, when, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even like that advice at the time,
Of
because
course not.
she was
It's for
talking about
you.
picking up shoes. Like, I'm not, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like for life,
Yeah.
like for life, that's relevant, because I can be content, right? Because I just got done talking about all this stuff. Like, yeah, it's cool because I'm happy, but also I'm happy, but I'm never complacent. Like, I can't get
Come
complacent,
on. Right.
because we have to build on the growth. Like, I could be cool with my progress that I'm making with the show or whatever now, but then God will put something in my life where it's just like, all right, now think about the generations of your family that's coming after you. You're not done.
Mm.
You're not done.
Mm.
It adds a layer.
Mm. And it's like it's a continued process.
Yeah.
Like the layers don't stop.
Yeah.
And when they stop, that means he's done. It's time to come home
And you still not done.
because you got a whole lot to do when you get there.
You still not done. Like you still not done because you know what I'm saying. If you want to go spiritual, if you a light worker on this earth, do you think that work stops when you gone?
Come on, somebody.
Like you know what I'm,
Yo,
like you're not like one of the hardest things, and this might sound crazy. I hope y'all stay with me, but it's just like when I think and I pray and I think about those moments where I'm like, God, why you put me through the stuff that you put me through? And it's just like because you strong, like you know what I'm saying, because I have to show you how strong you are.
you one of my top dogs. That's why.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you're a wounded warrior because my friend, you are a warrior.
I built you that way
Exactly.
intentionally.
Exactly. It was never an accident. It was never an accident. So like, when this work stops here, it's just gonna be another something later for whatever. And that's cool. Just learn, who you are now. So embrace who you are,
Wow.
that I've given you, and stand in it. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to cry about being a
Yeah.
wounded warrior, but I made you a warrior. Did you miss that part?
Mm.
I made you a fighter. Did you miss that
Hmm.
part?
Maybe I missed that part. Maybe I missed that part. Because I mean, we can be so quick to question, like why this, why that. Okay, well now I'm going to show you why. Like, oh, you wanted to know? Okay, here's the answer. You
Let me
like
show
the
you.
answer? Probably not, but here's the answer. Here it is. This is what you want to know, right? So what you
Yeah,
gonna do with it?
yeah,
Wounded warrior.
yeah,
Did you forget that? Like I made you a warrior.
yeah. You want
Mm-hmm.
to cry about being hurt.
Don't stop what you're doing.
Keep going.
But did you forget that I put you in the battle because I needed you there?
Who's
Don't
supposed to
stop what you're
fight?
doing, Marissa. Don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop what you're doing.
Who is supposed to fight? That's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about a country has what? Soldiers to protect the country.
Right? Yo, this is going to blow my mind. This is blowing my mind. This is blowing my mind. And I say it's blowing my mind because um, during our Bible study yesterday, we were talking about the different patterns that we're seeing in our lives, and you're talking right on it. The things that I've been seeing in my life are lead, light, um, the full armor of God. And if you're a warrior, if I have you in this fight, you have to have on the armor. You know what I'm saying? You have to be. This was just a full circle moment. You're equipped. Like I've equipped you with everything. And the other thing was the story of Babylon. But it's just interesting. Like I'm really having a like out of body experience right now. Sorry, listeners. Y'all
Now,
can't see this, but out of body experience.
but I mean
Wow.
because all of these things work together. All of these things work together. Like it sounds so like cliche. It almost sounds like people are talking, but it's like what you said. It's not gonna click into the clicks. And
Yeah.
like that's the part that finally made me relax. I wasted so many years of my life trying to convince people of things that they weren't ready for.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say this word for word, but I would always see 3:14, 3:16 because it's John 3:14, 3:16. And basically, like I said, I don't remember what it says verbatim. Plus, I read the Common English Bible. But
Yeah.
basically, what it's saying is, you know, you want me to convince you of heavenly things when you don't believe what I show you on earth. You're not going to understand what it is that I'm
It's
trying to
gonna surpass. Yeah.
like. If you don't believe what you see, how am I going to tell you anything beyond that?
And you said Psalms 3, what now?
John 3:16, John
Oh,
3.
John 3:16. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah. And, when you think about stuff like that, it's just like you can't, people gonna come when they ready to come. It's gonna click when it's gonna click, and it's not for me to force it.
That's fair.
I just do what I do. I just do what God told me to do and allow him to work through me, but I'm not here to force it. So if I have people in my life that don't want to change, or if they don't want to do the right thing, it's not for me to try to change you or force you or do anything like that. I can love you where
Right.
you are, leave you where you are, and allow you to
Come on.
when you're ready to come along. Because trying to
Mm.
force somebody to change or do something or see something that they weren't willing to see was only causing me pain.
Trying to lead a horse to water, but you can't make the drink.
Yeah. I've had a comment before from somebody, and it's just like, oh, you one of those God something, like one of those God people. And I was like, yeah, sure am.
They sure am. That wasn't an insult to me.
Nah.
Glad you know it.
Yeah. Thank you for the
So you want to
comment.
hear more about
Yeah.
them?
Yeah. I'm not gonna deny. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm not gonna deny you. Look, I don't want those consequences. I know who did it. You'll figure it out.
And if you don't, I mean, one day you will.
Oh, you
Hopefully,
will.
it's not too late.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Like I said, because I was out there, so I ain't gonna act like it's impossible for nobody. You'll get there, but could nobody tell me nothing when I was out there? So I
Yeah.
understand. Because I wouldn't have listened to me either.
Well, but when you know, you know. But when
Sorry.
you know, you know. Like, and when you know, you wouldn't have had it any other way. It's like, dang, I just, dog, if only I had a, you know?
Right. But it can't go that way. And it can't go that way because you, again, as well, at least for me, as that warrior, that's my job. I had to go through those
Yeah.
things because I gotta connect with the people that didn't that are like me. So how are you supposed to lead people that you can't understand?
Mm.
You can't. Why would they listen to you? Why would they listen to you if you don't know where they coming from? And why would they listen to you if they don't know you came from where they came from?
Yeah.
I think that
Mm.
makes sense.
You know, it made a lot of sense. Oh, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, how can I understand it? Like, to know that somebody might not want to hear what it is that I have to say. I know that because I'm the type of person that wouldn't want to hear what you have to say. But that also changes my approach because I know, all right, what would I want to hear, man? Would I want you to talk to me more, or would I want you to leave me alone? What did I need in those
Mm.
moments when I needed somebody?
Mm. Mm.
That's how you do it.
It's a God thing.
Yeah.
Truly, it is truly a God thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Like you said things that I needed to hear right now. Like, I was talking about, like, when we first started, you were asking me, what newness do I have going on in my life, more or less, right now. And I was talking about the adversity and things that I've been facing at work, and I needed to hear these words, more or less, because I mean, that has been like really hard place for me right now. But I don't know, I'm feeling like a lot of peace right now. Like, it's handled, like it's already taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, you've done what you could do. It's handled. You don't need to do no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I could tell you a real life story. I could tell you a real life story. And
Okay.
we could probably end it after that conversation, but I remember when I got promoted to management, uh, when I was working retail, I had to change stores. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was a whole politic thing that went into why I had to change stores, but basically they made me like the lowest level at this one store that needed a lot of work. And they did it because they knew I was the person for the job, basically, right? And I knew I was the person for the job in that sense too, but for me, I just wanted a management position. At the time, I think I'm probably like 19, 20, something like that, right? To put this into
Yeah.
perspective, I'm like 19, 20.
Okay.
So I get to this new store and all of these people who I'm leading now are essentially my peers. And they're looking at me
Okay.
like, girl, who are you to tell me what to do? And
Right.
that's my challenge right now in this moment, right? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like dealing with people who don't even want my help. They don't want my help. They don't
Mm,
present. They don't understand why I'm here because they are looking at me like, who are you and why are you trying to tell me what I need to be doing? What
right.
qualifications do you have? Who are you? Like what why am I supposed to listen to you? Right?
Right.
But again, my boss who is my mentor at the time is just like, just stick this out. You'll see. Just stick it out. I know it's hard. I know it's different. Just stick it out, whatever. Couple months go by, I'm holding my own. The people that like me like me. The people that don't like me don't like me. I don't care. I'm doing my job. I'm chilling. I got more people with me than against me. And I've already
Right.
done networking. I've been good at, I didn't know I was good at networking, but apparently I was good at networking. So the people up top like me. So that doesn't matter. It's only the people who work for me that don't like me. So
Right.
um what ends up happening is that boss gets fired. We get a new boss. And
Okay.
that boss sees how I work. He promotes me again. Now people
Oh,
really looking at me crazy. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Now people really look
Yeah.
crazy because they like, who are you? Who are you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Who are you?
Yeah.
And why are you doing this? So like, but I know who I am and why I'm, whatever. And apparently the people that matter know too. Like, that's why I'm here. So we have this like whole store meeting, and now we done hired a whole new management team. The management team does not know me like that. Everybody is new. But the store like gangs up on me, right? But they don't like a girl that's my friend who is also a manager on my same level. This is my peer. So they really don't like
Okay.
her, but they could care less for me. They don't necessarily like me either. So
Okay.
they what ends up happening, we had a store meeting and that one person that they really don't like is not there. So like they air their grievances out at me in front of everybody, in front of all of the managers and everything. Like they just going in on me like I don't do anything. And I'm standing there and everything that they saying is not even necessarily true. It's just their perception, right?
Yeah.
Because the only thing that they got on me is you sit in the office all the time. Well, my promotion that I got, that job requires me to literally do that.
Yeah.
And everything that I do is at the direction of my boss who promoted me because he saw how I work. So,
Yeah.
like, they do all that. And I'm just standing there. And then the meeting is over and everybody goes home. And my boss is just like, so how was that? And I was just like, I I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like I
What
don't
just happened?
literally that was me. I was in shock for like the whole night. And then I think I was off
Yeah.
the next day. And then the next day I go home and my district manager calls me. Now I know my district manager. We cool. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
cool. So she calls me and she was just like, I heard about yesterday. Like, what's up with that? And I'm just like, yo, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So she was like, all right, here's what we gonna do. She was like, here's what we gonna do. I'm about to
Okay.
fly out some of my best people from Chicago. they're about to run y'all store. We're about to give y'all a whole bunch of hours so y'all can clean up this store. And then y'all need to do a hiring event for the whole week because we about to clean this up. So the regional manager comes, district manager comes. She brings 3 people from her stores. One of them, she brings her best person who does the position that I just got promoted to train me.
Yeah.
So I get trained by the best person in my position in the district.
Yeah.
The rest of the managers get trained by some of the other best people in the district.
Yeah.
Half lost their jobs that week.
Well, I'm not surprised.
And we hired a whole new staff that week.
Wow.
And I did nothing. I did nothing.
Wow. He put you there intentionally to face the battle. So then the new team could come in and execute in the way that it needed to be executed.
We went from being one of the worst stores in our district to one of the top stores in the company. And I was the only one that was there from the beginning.
Wow. So what you're telling me is see it through.
Mm-hmm.
See it through. You don't need to quit now.
You don't have to do nothing. Work yourself out. I got attacked.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I got attacked, okay? But I didn't do anything. I literally didn't do anything. It was like I said, when we were on the phone, those 2 conversations, I'm shell-shocked. It worked itself out. It worked itself out.
I'm in that shell shock space right now. But you're saying it. Like it's gonna work itself out. I mean, you did what you could. You did all the things that you were supposed to do. And then you received what was meant for you. Man, oh man, oh man. The learning curve, boy, I tell you.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like the last time we had a conversation, like I was just on fire, like just spitting stuff off, like yeah. But you really got me on hush right now, like real, and I think it's probably because of where I'm at, the transitions that I'm experiencing right now. It's just it's casting light in those dark spaces, and it's like it's okay, like this is it's normalizing more or less. Like, wow.
Yeah, it's a God thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thinker versus speaker. That's the fun part. Because sometimes it flip flops and it's fun when that happens.
Just did.
Yeah.
It sure did. I mean, but truly, it's like, you're like, if you take advantage of always learning, like, and always trying to be the student, it's going to take you so far. And like, this was me taking advantage of that moment, like sitting down and being the student. Wow. Yeah, thanks.
I'm glad it was able to happen. Like, thank you for coming so we could have this moment. I don't know. I feel really good to be able to do that. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes I'm just talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part. It's just talking. And I mean, this is why I love having these conversations. Like,
for sure.
To be able to make people think in that type of way, like to be able to give that they can walk away with, that's a gift to me.
Well, here you go. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Like, I feel like I'm gonna be sitting with this for a minute. Like, I mean, you can see the shock on my face right now. So it's just like,
if only I used the video, y'all. Let me tell you, y'all, if only I used the video, because yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I use the video, y'all would see a lot today. Okay. I think this is the most interesting video.
Probably the most interactive video you've had.
It definitely is.
I mean, we made a whole meal. Man. Well, thank you.
Not a
For
problem.
real. Like for real. Thank you.
No problem. You have my
I'm gonna have
number.
to,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I'm gonna have to give you an update on how things blow over.
Yeah. Yeah. On or off the show. I'm
Wow.
here. You got my number.
Facts. Man, if y'all have not tapped in with Marissa, you are missing out.
Well, thank you. I
You're
appreciate
missing out. For
it.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But on that note, I'm not going to keep you here all day because we probably really could be talking all day.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah. But no, I appreciate the conversation. I like I said, it was a great time for me. So I appreciate you anytime that you ever come on the show. Like you always welcome, you know that. Keys to the building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pun intended. Love that.
Yeah.
No, but for real though, I am gonna be in touch because now I have more. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have questions like sooner rather than later. So
Yeah.
hope you're open.
Yeah, no, for real. Anything that you want to know, like, I got you. Yeah.
That's fair.
I rock
That's
with
fair.
you. Like, I rock with you. For real, for real. Like, yeah.
That same like I said when we first started, chatting or whatever. It was just like you don't always come across like-minded people. You know what I'm saying? Or like people that are down to go there with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whew, yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna go pray or something because wow, that's how I feel right now. Truly,
Yeah.
like goodness gracious.
Yeah. And I mean that oh man, like you gonna get me going down the guy road. Cause like I think that's the thing for me that gets me excited about building my own relationship with God to understand how he works in the world. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's so much bigger, it's so much bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
just to
Yeah.
like who would have thought that me just sitting and thinking about random things and just wanting to put them together in my mind
Yeah.
to deeper understanding, like could actually do something for somebody else that's not me, you
My
know?
Lord. My
Like
Lord.
it's a beautiful thing. Like it's a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? And like understanding like what God has placed inside you to help his world, to help heal his world, like
Lord have
that's
mercy.
humbling. Like that's so humbling because everybody has
Lord
their
have
different thing,
mercy.
but to be able to see what mine is and what God put in me to help
Yeah.
his mission, even trusting me to make me a part of this plan to help the mission, that's humbling. That's so humbling.
Lord have mercy. Like I'm gonna go pray. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Hood church babies just coming together.
Yeah, oh me. Oh me. Marissa, thank you for having me back again. This has been very eye-opening. You've shed a whole lot of light in the dark places. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you too. Seriously. Seriously.
Hell yeah.
Anytime. I'm glad we were able to do this today. Um, yeah.
Through it all.
Through it all. Yeah, through it all. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go check on my sick munchkin. They got kennel cough when I was
Oh,
yeah, I know. Like
oh,
uh
poor thing.
I know.
They okay?
Yeah, they're all right. They just got this like little nasty little cough and they keep hacking. So.
Yeah.
And they're tired.
Poor
So
things. Well, I hope that gets better. Yeah.
yeah.
Hope things get better sooner rather than later. Thank you so much, Sam.
Not a problem. Do you want to let the people know where to find you on social media?
Y'all can find me on Instagram at KEYNI0903. And then Facebook, Keara Okolo, Keara Okolo. And that's pretty much it. I'm not even really active right now, but go take a peek around, see, find something. I don't know. Thank you.
No problem. If you're looking for me, you can find me at Marissa Y17 on Instagram, Marissa the Thinker on Facebook and YouTube. And you can find Thinker versus Speaker everywhere at Thinker versus Speakers, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram specifically. I don't be on TikTok. It's there, but y'all not gonna find me there.
That's hilarious.
I don't like TikTok makes me feel old, and I just don't. I just like.
I mean, well, you left the 20s, so.
Oh, here we go. All right.
I mean, that's okay.
I'm gonna act my age on that one, and I'm gonna just go ahead and let y'all have that. Okay?
I'm weak. I am weak.
Y'all can have that rabbit hole. I don't have time. I don't have time to be sitting in here spending an accidental 2 hours scrolling through an app. I don't have it. I need to.
My favorite rabbit hole. So
I got YouTube Shorts for that. It's all right.
I've been hearing a lot about that. A little bit more lately than like not. I might have to check them out because I'm not familiar with YouTube Shorts.
It's like I'll click on one short and then I'll end up in a rabbit hole real quick.
I like rabbit holes. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I don't get on TikTok because I'll fall in and I'll stay there. So I'm all right.
I feel that.
Yeah, I don't have a height, and I don't like heights. So.
All right, man. Well, I'll chat with you. Thank you. And have a good one.
You too. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Later.
All right now.
Bye.
Smooth made.